Hey, this is Dave Windor from Monster Man. And
In Amsterdam, you just did a little tourist visit or something? Brought a camera with you?
well, no, actually, I went out to do another interview, but I took my camera with me anyway because I kind of take it wherever I go now. I can't always remember where I've been. I travel so much, so I just take pictures of everything, and sometime in the future I'll develop them and go, oh yeah, I was in Amsterdam.
Dopes to Infinity, critically acclaimed to be the best Monster Magnet record up to date. What do you think of that?
Thank you. I worked harder on it than other records, so it's nice. It's nice for people to say that. Yeah.
You wrote most songs yourself?
Yeah, all except for there's two songs that were co-written. One was co-written by the bass player, and one was co-written by the drummer.
I wonder when I hear these psychedelic records, especially when I listen to the old ones, I'm like thinking, how do you get that on a tape? Because I mean, you must be totally stoned to get the vibe. But then when you're totally stoned, you can't record a thing. So how do you do that?
Well, through trial and error, heavy on the error. What I try to do is get as much of my recollection of what it's like to be stoned or what it's like to be in a trance and stuff like that, and try to apply that early in the day before I get a chance to get more involved with other stuff. So it's a matter of memory. You remember what it's like, and you try to recreate that.
And once you recorded a song, you test it.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, it would not be the same without testing it. There has to be a practical application of the music.
Is this a mushroom record, or is it a weed record, or is it a pill record, or what is it?
Well, I don't know. Listening to it, it sounds like a mushroom record. Making it was a pill record.
Wow, how's that? I mean, that sounds strange.
I don't know. I think it just depends on who was making it, and that was me, and I tended to be in the pill territory at that point.
Did you know that in Amsterdam, there at this time it's legal to buy and use mushrooms?
I didn't know it was legal. I know. When did that happen? Mushrooms too. Huh?
Yeah, mushrooms too.
That's nice. It's very natural. It's a good thing.
You think it will ever happen in the States?
Never. I don't think the States would be able to handle it myself. I think the States have been so suppressed for so long that if we were to give that kind of freedom, I think most people would tend to abuse it. Americans are funny people.
Yeah, but they can't handle guns either, and they're legal.
Well, I'm not saying I'm for illegal guns either, And that's exactly my point. Just imagine legal guns and legal drugs at the same time.
You made the soundtrack for a film, SFW. What for a film was that?
Well, the film itself, I didn't even know what the film was about because I just got the screenplay at one point. I know that they had offered us some money and we were starving at that point, and I said, okay, I'll write a song. And I wrote a song called Negasonic Teenage Warhead for it very quickly and turned it in. And they used the version that's on the album soundtrack as a demo version that I did in New Jersey at my house. I had no idea it would travel that far. I didn't think the movie was going to be a big deal. As it turned out, it was not a big deal. But it wasn't my perfect movie experience, but I'd like to write music for movies in the future.
And now it turns out to be the single here in Holland, at least.
Yeah, and it turned out to be the single. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, that's the way those things go.
Why is it called Negasonic and not Megasonic or something?
Because it kind of. Oh, that's my camera shutting off.
Shit, man.
That
was my dad.
I know. Negasonic because it was. I was pretty negative when I wrote it, and it was kind of a reaction to, amongst other things, it was a reaction against whining pop stars that I was watching on TV at the time.
Like, give me any names.
Like the guy who killed himself, and
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, and some other people who just seemed to be just like, oh, I hate being a rock star. I hate being a rock star. I hate being. Yeah. It just seemed so.
Grunge scene.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was really depressing, and it was like bumming me out. And again, I wrote it very fast, so it wasn't me making a declaration or anything, or this wasn't a manifesto. It was just off the top of my head. And that's what I kept thinking when I kept thinking of these guys. They're like Negasonic Teenage, where nothing's ever right. It's always negative. Oh, it's poor me, poor this, poor that, poor everything. I was just like, oh man, it wasn't my idea of rock and roll.
Then what's your idea of rock and roll? Black Sabbath tearing bats apart on stage.
No,
Ronnie James Dio, 2 feet tall.
Ronnie James Dio. No, I'm not a big pointy headstock, big hair metal guy. I'm not into that stuff at all.
Come on, man.
Very aware of. No, I'm not. I mean, if you look at my record collection, it's all like Stooges and Hawkwind and Pink Floyd, and
No Black Sabbath. I find that very hard to believe.
first 3 Black Sabbath. That's a big difference between the early Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath and the Ronnie James Dio Sabbath. We are not, Iron Maiden people. We're just not that way. And
But you're not Metallica people either.
no, not at all. No, I come from a background and a love of cheesy like garage psychedelia, Strawberry Alarm Clock, Nuggets and Pebbles compilations, all that like one-hit wonder garage rock and punk rock, Ramones, space rock like Hawkwind, Amadou 2, and Hendrix, of course, and all the stuff that's got a little style to it. I didn't think that whole metal thing with the metal T-shirts and all that kind of stuff and Iron Maiden kind of stuff wasn't my bag. It never was my bag.
MC5.
MC5, definitely. Grand Funk too. Like Grand Funk and stuff like that. I'm big fans of. But I mean, rock and roll to me nowadays is like a weird dance between stereotype and living with a stereotype. There's a big stereotype about rock and roll and about rock and roll bands, and the reason that it's there is because it's sometimes very enjoyable. In order for me to go out there and really have a good time and actually rock, or whatever you'd call it, celebrate music and just celebrate being alive, a lot of times you fall into those stereotypes. Meaning, banging your head and jumping up and down and sweating and stuff. But as far as tearing up hotel rooms and stuff like that, I don't do that. I can't afford that.
Isn't that much rock and roll?
No, I mean that's gangsterism. That's not rock and roll.
But what's your grudge against the grunge scene? I mean,
I don't have a grudge against the grunge scene. I love the grunge scene, especially when it began. I'm a big fan. Still, am a big fan of Mudhoney, Soundgarden. Those 2 bands, especially from the grunge scene, I like.
they're not especially. I mean, they're not especially positive.
No, they're not. They're not. It's well, I mean, I don't have exactly a positive outlook. If you listen to my record, it's not exactly me, being that positive either. I'm
But
trying.
it's laughing at negativity.
Yes. Well, you have to. I mean, God, if you don't, you're gonna kill yourself.
It showed, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, it's a constant battle. You got to fight it all the time, and you have ups and downs.
How was touring with Soundgarden?
Great, totally great. Really cool people, nice people.
Big venues.
Concerned. Giant venues, yeah. It was the total giant rock thing. Yeah.
Got some time to sound check?
Got some, a little bit of time. Not that much. Didn't need it. We didn't need it at that point. It's just like plug in and go.
Do you think Green Day and Offspring is rock and roll?
Yeah, I guess it's more pop than it is rock and roll. I think Offspring is pretty rock and roll. Green Day seems kind of like a pop affair to me. Offspring's good. Great band. I think they're really cool. The Green Day, it's well produced and sounds really good, but I mean, American people singing in English accents just doesn't cut it for me.
Do you think they're that English? Come on, I mean,
Do I think what?
they're that English?
Well, the guy talks like this when he sings, He's from San Francisco, for crying out loud. Everyone's got their own bag, so I don't want to diss them. I mean, they're fine. If they want to do the Clash thing, let them do it. That's fine. I'm doing the Grand Funk thing, so they can do the Clash thing.
You're not doing the Grand Funk thing, not at all. You recorded part of this album in Electric Ladyland, or did I get that wrong?
Yeah, Electric Ladyland. Great place. Total
What's it like?
massive history.
Just a studio, or?
It's
I mean, come on, that's Jimi Hendrix.
right, exactly. No, it is more than a studio. It is the place. It's the place that Jimi Hendrix built. So that history totally permeates the whole building. And we recorded a song in there in the same room that Led Zeppelin recorded "A Whole Lot of Love," which I thought was like pretty cool. I was like, wow, this is great. Yeah, I was in awe of the whole place. Sure, you can't deny that kind of history. It's amazing. It's like going to a museum or something. It's great.
You played at Dynamo Festival 2 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 2 years ago. How was that?
Crazy. I had no sleep. I got out of a bus after a 17-hour drive completely hungover, was woken up by a man poking me with a stick saying, you have to go on stage. I went on stage. I fell off stage. I broke a rib.
Come on, no.
Yeah, I broke a rib.
I was there. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I went into the crowd and like broke a rib. Came back the second to the last song. Went out, like I said, got my rib broken. Came back, finished the set. 5 minutes later, I was in a field being interviewed by somebody from MTV. I was still trying to gather my wits together at that point, and then wound up at the end of the day strolling through the back fields of Eindhoven with all these nice people smoking hash. It was a pretty exciting time. It was pretty cool.
You didn't notice your rib was broken?
No,
or?
I noticed it. Yeah, I did. I definitely noticed. We went to the medic. The medic, and it popped out. He like popped it back in.
And he said nothing you can do about it?
He said, "Oh, just don't move it." You know. So I went from there to Hamburg, Germany, the next day. Went to a doctor there. He said the same thing.
You can't do anything about it?
Couldn't do anything about it. Well, it's a broken rib. You can't do anything about it. You just like trying to set it.
Hope it grows
and
back.
hope it grows back. It did. You know. I can't. We canceled like three shows in Scandinavia.
You guys, I mean, when I saw you at Dynamo, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But I didn't expect you guys to be back this way and even bigger. I mean, you got even radio airplay, which is kind of special for heavy music.
Yeah, well, believe me, I'm as surprised as you are, probably even more. You know, I just do what I do. You know, I have my own agenda, and it usually doesn't involve much of the rest of the world. So I'm not aware, or nor do I tend to forecast what this band's going to do or achieve. You know, because I'm a human being, and I just want to make my own little world a special place for me and my friends.
You just do what you want
Something
to.
like this happens, it's pretty amazing. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm scratching my head like, holy shit. It's nice. Yeah.
You work with this producer who also did things for Nine Inch Nails.
He mixed it.
He mixed it, yeah.
He mixed it with me. Alan Mulder, really talented guy. Great guy. I hired him in the middle when I was producing the record because I knew I wanted the record to be finished on time, and I knew I would never be able to mix this thing by myself in the time that was allotted me, which was 2 weeks. So I called him up, and he turned out to be this totally full-on, very talented guy who came in and made sense with me of all the tracks that I had put down. Great guy, really talented guy. I think he's going to do the next Smashing Pumpkins.
Whoa, yeah.
He's going to produce it, I think.
Wow. Nine Inch Nails and this kind of industrial metal punk thing is so big in the States. I hear from everybody. Is it the new hype? You think it's getting really big? Like grunge did, or?
It got huge. It got, well, Nine Inch Nails became like totally huge, and I think that's just like the beginning of what you're going to see as a synthesis of electronic music with a personality behind it, which is something that's been sorely lacking from electronic music for a long time. If you can infuse personality into electronic music, you're going to get special stuff. You're going to lose a little bit of the human touch, but it's interesting to watch it happen.
You know any European dance, or they call it rave or house artists?
Yeah. I don't know the artist. See, that's the thing. I'll buy these CDs. I'll buy like Psychotrance, you know, and I'll listen to the whole thing and I'll love it. I'll look at the DJ's name and find out it was a guy from The Shaman or something like this. But the artists themselves, I don't remember. Right. It's interesting because I think that's kind of the way that music is going. It lacks personality because it's so technical. Then again, the music itself is great.
Orbital,
Yeah, Orbital.
their personalities.
Yeah. They are personalities. Not as much personalities as they should be, but and to compete in this world. But perhaps, you know, as we get along in it, their personalities will rise up to the top. I think really talented people, extremely talented people, and they make a type of music that is not rock and roll, meaning that this music is not in the forefront. This music is a background. It's a soundtrack to a person's activity. It's not something to be looked at. It's something to be utilized. So that's not rock and roll. That's something else. It's background music. Disco by any other name is still disco, and that's what it is.
It's disco.
Yeah. It's music for people to go